Back to our program. Here we go. So welcome to Talking Immigration in Cars with Coffee. I am Talia Inlender. I am your substitute host for today, as Ahilan is out of town. I'm the Deputy Director at the Center for Immigration Law and Policy, and I am very happy to welcome to my car, Monika.
Yeah, I am Monika Langarica. I am the Senior Staff Attorney at the Center for Immigration Law and Policy, and I'm very happy to go on this ride with you, Talia.
What a joy to get to spend the afternoon riding and talking immigration with you. But before we start talking shop, tell me, what is in your coffee cup today?
I cannot tell a lie. It's a matcha latte with almond milk.
Awesome. Well, you're communing with Ahilan's spirit, as I know matcha is also his drink of choice. Right. Well, welcome. I'm really excited to be here with you today to talk about a topic that is on many people's minds this election season and beyond, which is the border. I guess I want to start by asking you to just tell me a little bit about your connection to the border.
I grew up on the border, or in our border community in San Diego, family on both sides of the border, and really just traversing that space kind of as a very regular feature of my upbringing. Unsurprisingly, the vast majority of my work concerns border policy.
Contrary to your personal experience, I think a lot of folks who are thinking about the border now and during this election season are seeing it on the news, being talked about on the news, being talked about by the candidates. And one thing that's really struck me during this season and really even before the election season is how much the Democratic and Republican Party seem to be converging around a border narrative, and in particular a border crisis narrative.
I think you alluded to the discourse more broadly on immigration generally, but border policy specifically has really veered to the right, dramatically in recent years. Part of it is that I don't know how much people understand about how both restrictive and punitive the asylum process already is at the border, right? And so there's this kind of idea that has really permeated, the airwaves and the minds of many people, that there's, a problem or a crisis of people coming to the border, and that the way that we fix that is with more restrictive policies. But those of us at the border and border communities know that, restrictive policies don't stop people from coming. And if you think that U.S. border policies alone can stop or encourage migration flows, and I think that demonstrates a grave misunderstanding of the instability, the danger, the violence that causes people to flee to begin with. It also gravely misunderstands global migration patterns, things that are so much larger and far beyond, what these specific policies look like.
So if restrictive policies are not the answer, then I'm curious for your take as somebody who's lived and worked at the border for so long. What are some answers? There's clearly no magic bullet, but sort of what are some answers or solutions?
I agree and would like to emphasize that there is no magic bullet, and I think if somebody who's selling you a magic bullet, probably doesn't fully understand the complexity of the landscape. But I think there are two things that bear noting. One is something that you and I know a lot about, which is the importance of increasing safe pathways that allow people to access humanitarian protection in the United States from abroad. So this is programs like Uniting for Ukraine, Operation Allies Welcome, which was stood up for Afghans in the wake of the Taliban offensive, like the program for people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. All of those, programs are without a doubt imperfect and incomplete. But what they allow for is for people to apply for advanced travel authorization or permission to come to the United States from abroad, to seek parole or a type of temporary status at international airports, so not the southern border.
Yeah.
And to be in the United States for a temporary period of time during which, they are eligible for work permits so they can work, and otherwise join and integrate into communities across the United States.
Can I just stop you for just 1 second? Because there's also been a lot of talk in this election season about the legal authority for these programs, and what is the legal authority for these programs? Where did it come from?
The authority for these programs exists in the humanitarian parole statute in the U.S. immigration laws that were passed by Congress decades ago, that allows the executive to, allow people to enter the United States for urgent humanitarian or significant public benefit reasons. And so it's that authority has been used by, I think it is 5 presidential administrations over a period of 7 decades.
Let's veer back to sort of how these programs, in your view, offer a solution, or a part of the solution.
So one is, I think, is this importance of creating safe pathways for people to access humanitarian protection in the U.S. from abroad. Because it not only does it provide relief for individuals or folks from countries that are experiencing instability, but it also, in a very practical way, allows people to forego the very perilous journey to the southern border, right? People don't want to traverse the Darien Gap or, numerous countries uncertain of whether they'll be able to work or provide for their kids, or, facing the dangers of, different kinds of assaults along the way. People don't want to do that. And so when we offer these alternative safe pathways from abroad, people will pursue them. We've seen that. Yeah. And the second thing is, the reality is that not everybody can access those pathways. And so for those who cannot, either because the programs don't exist for their countries at any given time, or because they, don't have the luxury of waiting for the adjudication of their applications and maybe have to, flee, there must be systematic access to the asylum process at the southern border. That's not based on a type of Ticketmaster lottery, or luck of the draw. And at the same time, the U.S. has got to invest in these welcoming infrastructures in border communities, so that border communities are prepared to receive and to welcome, with enthusiasm, newcomers, knowing that they'll be able to offer respite sheltering, public health, legal resources, in those, days that folks might need that kind of support before they're on their way to their networks of care or ultimate destination cities in the U.S.
Got it. So let's talk. Last time we were riding in a car together, at least with just both of us in the front seat, was in South Texas last summer, when we were at going to trial to defend the CHNV parole program, which we successfully did. That case is now, we won the case in the district court in the Southern District of Texas, and the case is now pending at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. The program is continued, but I guess it would be helpful to hear from you, Monika, just sort of where the case is at.
Yes, happy to talk about this topic. In March of this year, Judge Tipton, the federal judge hearing the case, dismissed the state's lawsuit challenging again, we call it CHNV, the parole program for people from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And he dismissed that case because he found that ultimately the states, led by Texas, could not actually prove injury from this program. And that is a huge win for this case, for this program, and also for the state of immigration, litigation generally, right, where this is a part of a growing pattern led by Republican-led states to challenge, whatever positive features of immigration law and policies, still or do exist, on this theory that states are harmed, that anytime new migrants or immigrants enter their states, they are harmed. So it was a big win. that decision came down in March. Unsurprisingly, the states appealed that decision up to the Fifth Circuit. And we're now waiting to see if, we're going to be set for oral argument, or what the Court of Appeals determines the next steps are. So the case is pending. Importantly, the program remains in operation.
I feel like we've been having this big abstract conversation, or not so abstract, but big, sort of a big picture conversation about the border and solutions in the CHNV program. And I guess I want, before we close, to kind of bring in some of the stories of our clients in the CHNV litigation. So
in the CHNV litigation, we joined that case to ensure that the voices and the perspectives of people who are actually impacted, right, by the fate of this program would be a part of the judge's calculus, essentially.
Right.
And but we did that on behalf of 7 individual sponsors under the CHNV program. So it's 7 different people from different parts of the country with different backgrounds, totally different experiences with respect to this program, who intervened in the case, and in my view just represent the broad spectrum, of people who benefit from programs like CHNV. So that, got a Florida school teacher, Eric from California and Washington, and our client from Texas, who is a devout Christian.
And I think for me, one thing that's just been so incredible in working on this litigation and in helping to defend this program is just seeing the different values that are driving people to welcome. I want to ask you, sort of, if you could wave a magic wand, if these values that we're seeing kind of at play in the CHNV program were to kind of be the values that governed our border policy, like what would our border policy look like in your view?
It's like, I have accompanied a family, for example, who after months of waiting was finally given an appointment to seek humanitarian parole at the port of entry. And I got the privilege of accompanying her to the port of entry, with the very few belongings that she had, together with her son. And I witnessed that moment when she was granted humanitarian parole to the United States, and after such a long period of waiting, stepped foot in the United States and just wept of catharsis, right? And I got to tell her, welcome, I'm so happy that you're here. And I think that moment doesn't have to be as elusive, and they don't have to be as few as far between as they are. We have the capacity to see that through at a scale that matches the need. It's whether the political will is there or not, that's a separate question, but whether the capacity is there, whether we know that it's possible, we know the answer to those questions because we've seen it at play.
We missed,
I think you covered all the big topics.
I'm done with you grilling.